Hi, Christoph here. I wanted to give a quick summary of an accessibility test that Mo and I did on June 30 for the Phoenix wallet. So as you may know, the two of us have been working inspecting accessibility for some time now. Most recently, we published this page here in the Bitcoin Design Guide around accessibility with things to look out for, why it's important, tips and examples, that type of stuff. Also a little bit of, if you want to do your own testing, there's some links down here too, which is something I highly recommend. So we also created this test plan because we wanted to not just summarize the theory, but also go over different wallets and come up with specific recommendations and then file issues and help those projects improve in whatever we may find. Plus, it's also a really good learning experience to go through over these wallets in detail and learn about how their design solutions and all of that. So we create a list of wallets. For Phoenix, we did this full analysis here. For some of the other ones, we're going to do more light testing. We'll try to focus, of course, on non-custodial open source, but we might also, and already have done a little bit of light testing on other ones, because there might also be interesting design patterns that we can learn from. So our test was to take our phones out. Mo was on iPhone, I was on Android. And then we installed the application. We went through onboarding, went through send and receive. So we sent some Bitcoin back and forth, then deleted the application and then recovered our wallets. And during that whole time, we did not regularly interact just by tapping as we personally would usually do, but we only navigated via the accessibility tools. So that's swiping left and right and double tapping and responding to the voiceover. We did not test some other settings like bold text and increased contrast, something we can do separately. We just focused on voiceover and voice control. So here's summary. So as we went through this whole thing, it took us about 2 hours to do this whole test. We went through all these screens and experiences and flows. We took screenshots on every screen in every important state that we came across, and then took plenty of notes, which are all here. Then we put that in Figma. So here on the left are all the screenshots with the notes from the Google Doc. And there are a lot of screens that were great. Like here, everything fine. And so we took a second index here on the right-hand side. Those are the only ones where we actually came up with recommendations. So Phoenix has very good accessibility overall. It's a really good wallet. We just found some small things and had a couple of questions. Something that was interesting were also the differences between iOS and Android that we noticed. So for example, here on the wallet backup screen, you'll see on iOS on the right, you have to manually enable cloud backup. On Android, you do not have to. I'm curious if there's a technical reason for that, or if this, if they were just designed differently for whatever reasons. Maybe one of the apps is out of sync with the other one. Curious about that, but let's quickly dig into some of the things that we found. There's some really small stuff. For example, the number 250,000 here is read as 250,000 because there's no comma. It reads it as two words and then pronounces it as that way. Another small thing is that this text here and this checkbox are two different elements, so they should just be one. Really small stuff. Small stuff like this input field for editing a number of sats is announced as edit box. Text contrast might be a little bit low. Here the QR code is not selectable at all, so a blind user will not know that there's a QR code on this screen. It should be a selectable element, and the voiceover should announce something like scan this QR code to copy your address or share your address, something like that. I think these buttons here had no labels. And here on this screen, we had a question whether this is the camera's feed here. It's actually detectable for a blind user. Do they know that their camera is active at the moment? Can they tell? Especially here where there's no label. At least here on this one, it says scan a QR code containing a payment request. That's something that you can have read out loud to you. but on this other screen you can't. Just not really sure what the right solution there is. So we had some problems we had here on this screen where this button is called tabs. It should be called copy. And then the button doesn't work when you have accessibility tools enabled. If you have it disabled, it works just fine. So weird effect there. So that's some of the stuff we found, and then we posted an issue here on the GitHub repo with a summary and recommendations. There's also a link back to the test document, Figma file, accessibility page, and a short video about how we would do this tests. And so hopefully that helps make Phoenix a little bit more accessible to more people. Now it would be awesome if some people who know how to implement these things would kind of pick that up. Would be absolutely fantastic. I think many of those tasks are actually very simple. Just changing label somewhere, making a QR code selectable and giving it a label, all pretty straightforward stuff, I think. And then next, we will, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to go over these other wallets, and Mo will do a full review on Breeze, but otherwise we're going to do more light testing for specific screens and specific user flows that we're interested in. And that will be that. If you want to help do this testing, or if you want to help implement some of the findings, love to hear from you. Let me know. Thanks.